welcome back to another episode on the EaglePod. I'm so excited to have Ervin and Rovena join me on this episode. Both financial advisors at Northwestern Mutual, Ervin and Rovena bring a wealth of knowledge and expertise and offer unique insights into personal finance, savings, and investing. Tune in for an enlightening discussion on building financial security and making smart financial decisions. All right, well, welcome to another episode on the EaglePod. I'd love to have you guys both introduce yourselves.
Great. Thank you, Lorena, for the invite.
Yeah.
I'll go first. Well, my name is Rovena Grishaj. I'm here in New York City. Been living here for 8 years now. I'm a financial advisor working for one of the big companies here in America, Northwestern Mutual. And I'm super excited to be here today. Thank you so much for inviting us. And I've seen some of your episodes. You're doing such a great job. So thank you. Thank you for finding the time on your busy life.
Appreciate the opportunity to obviously introduce ourselves and speak. Ervin Lleshi, chartered financial consultant. As Rovena mentioned, we work part of the same company, Northwestern Mutual. So I've been in this seat for 12 years, but also, an immigrant, came to the States in 1998. I mean, we came here with my two brothers. I'm one of three, and my parents. In 1998, we came through the Lotto program back then. This is right after essentially communism. But we came here pretty much just like many Albanians at the time, very poor. My father came with a $5,000 loan from his brother, and then it was a big shock. I was 12. My younger brother was 7. My older brother was 14. So we ended up in Queens, New York. But it was a big shock to come here. And and thankfully, looking back now, what is it? 27 years. It's a lot of things have happened, and for the better, right? But it was a struggle. First 5 years, I'd say. My father was pretty. He was an accountant back home, so he always wanted to go back, and thankfully he stood, and primarily he stood for us, right? So our job is to make something of ourselves, to make his journey worthwhile, essentially, to take that leap of faith. Because I don't know, if you're in your 40s and you have a couple kids, in his case, 3 kids, early 40s. I know, America is a big, it's sold as a American dream, right? But still, uprooting with 3 kids is not easy without any funds. So, always admire him for that, because, I'm a father too, not married and divorced, but I have 2 kids. So taking that kind of decision now, like even for me, in my late 30s, would be a big a big decision.
Yeah, so my journey is a little bit different. I'm the first one in my family, like immediate family, to actually become an immigrant, beside my aunts and my uncles and all that. I was studying in Albania, in Tirana, and I actually graduated there. Everybody not everybody, but most of us Albanians go through the stage of anger. Like, I want more. I want to see what's out there. I can do better, all that. So while I was finishing the bachelor's over there, I was, considering different options. One was to go to Italy. Another one was to come to America. And both places I had my uncles. So they were both like, hey, whichever you pick, we're going to support you. And, a lot of people come here, for example, in Ervin's father case, it's completely different. You come here, don't know many people, that at least I had somebody to support me and to, open the door. So I applied for universities here in America. I got accepted at St. John's. They gave me a scholarship, which made it a little bit easier to afford it. But when I came here, I literally knew my uncle. And I didn't really knew him as well, because he immigrated when he was 16. So I had met him twice. So he was like family, but I didn't really know much about him. The journey was challenging, to kind of summarize in a word, but I really enjoyed the part where I got exposed to so much that I didn't really mind. I didn't pay attention to like the negative sides, like having to really learn English because I understood English, but when I came here, then I figured out, oh, okay, I don't know how to speak English. I thought I knew, but I didn't really know. And then I started, first job I got, I was working as a cashier in a pizzeria. I didn't even know how to give change in dollars because I wasn't used with dollar, I was used with lek as everybody else. And then I started doing serving, and then I started bartending. And so it's kind of, I just pushed myself to grow real quick.
Yeah.
But I literally, like, again, like everybody else, I had to learn everything from the scratch, even just how to get a train ticket, how to get like the Metro card, the learning the streets, not getting lost, starting to little by little create a certain network that you can kind of call for a job or an opportunity or something like that. But I've been here for 8 years, and I feel like I actually have lived all my life in here because I've done way more in 8 years here than I did for 21 in back home.
Yeah.
So it's been difficult, but it's been completely worth it. And I expect now on to be even better. So I'm very like happy to be here and the opportunity that I got to move to United States.
Obviously, for most Albanians immigrating here, it's really difficult at first, like the first 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But something I love about our culture is our ambition. And like you mentioned, Rovena too, you said you were in
Yeah.
Tehran and you're like, something I just needed more, more, more. I'm like, that's how we all are. We just crave that.
And I remember at that time, just I got accepted university
Um,
and I got the ticket, and I had no clue whatsoever what I'm getting into. Literally,
yeah.
I went to St. John's, which is pretty expensive, especially for
Yeah.
the economy that I had at that time. And I still
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
Now that I'm here and I actually know how things
Yeah.
work, I'm not sure I would choose the same tuition.
Really?
But that's
Yeah.
that's like the idea that we are always so, like, as you said, ambition just to get any opportunity that comes in our way.
Yeah.
So, but it turned out to be okay, so it's fine.
Yeah. And you, Ervin, you talked about how your dad, made all those sacrifices and looking at where you are now, what is your why? What like gets you up in the morning and gets you excited for work, for life?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm very ambitious, as obviously most Albanians are. So I wake up at like 4:30. I hit the gym at 5. So for some reason I can't work out after work. I'm beat. So I'm an early riser. I
Oh,
sleep early too.
uh,
But yeah, I mean, what gets me up is really you know, leaving a mark in this world. I think we have, very short time here.
yeah.
So, I don't want to be forgotten, essentially, right? I want to make something of myself, and also be a model. And I think being a leader, and we're lucky, Raven and I, maybe me a little more because I have a little more tenure here, but there's some good leaders in our office. And from different cultures, different backgrounds, and I think it's crucial to be around leaders, and then I'm lucky that I have the opportunity because your surroundings really matter and shape you to who you become.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, in terms of big picture, right, I want to make sure I'm a good role model for my kids, right, leading by example, right, and then making sure, like, you know not putting a lot of pressure on them and letting them figure life out on their own, but also, you know, doing something on myself. So my my biggest, essentially, why is the kids. That's what I wake up every morning, and I'm looking to be a better person, in the future.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. So both of you guys are financial advisors for Northwestern Mutual.
Yep.
So can you just tell everyone, what does a financial advisor do? Why is it important to have one? Let's talk about that.
All
You
we
want
do is
to
talk about money, Lorena.
go?
Well, I mean, look, there are different ways to really define what a financial advisor is. And I also think that a lot of people have different ideas. Like, a lot of people think that all we do all day is check stocks, and we don't do
Yeah.
that. Or they think we do trading or things
Uh,
like that. Our role is really educate people when it comes to managing their finances
Okay.
and putting their finances in order, having a plan for specific goals that they have. So, for example, if we meet in with a family, it's
Yeah.
very like standard example. Let's say they have 2, 3 kids, they're both working, they have some retirement accounts, they have some insurance, all that. Our goal and where we bring the most value is really, okay, let's analyze everything that you have. Let's talk about things you want to have. Let's see that gap between the goals and like the specific situation where you're at and what steps you need to take. Every person that we meet is completely different. So where the common point is educating, supporting, and making sure they're taking the right decision to achieve those goals. That being goals of, hey, I want to make sure my kids have enough funds to go to the specific university they would like to. I want to make sure that when I go in retirement, I'm not going to have to really count on my kids to cover all my bills. So I want to have enough funds. Or I want to buy a dream home, and how much should I be saving? Where should I be investing to make sure that, I'm keeping up with the inflation, I'm getting the right return, I'm taking advantage of the hard work that I'm putting in. Then, let's say if you go to the next stage where you have people with very high net worth, okay, what's the best way to really transfer these assets to the next generation? How can you be tax efficient? What else can you be doing better? So it really depends at what stage you meet people, but every stage you meet them, there are going to be some areas where they can improve, some things that they can be doing differently, some ideas that maybe they have never gotten exposed to.
Yeah.
So our goal is educate, support, make sure you track the goals, and create good habits when it comes to the finances.
Yeah.
And I think, Ervin, you can.
No, all valid points. Yeah. So, one of the big kind of misconceptions is that, hey, I'm meeting with a financial advisor and it's like I have to have a couple $1 million to invest, and that's far from the truth, right? So essentially, timing is crucial, right? The earlier you start, right, there's a lot of research, the better value you're going to get in the future, right? Versus like if someone's starting like a example, a Roth IRA at 25 versus someone starting at 35, it's a huge difference, right? But yeah, a lot of what we do to Rovena's point, especially within our community, just to educate. It's not it's unfortunate that it's not in our culture yet, right? Maybe our generation is much more open-minded because we have exposure through work. Like we know it's a 401k, but most people in our community, they are undereducated, but also underplanned.
Yeah.
So that's where we try to, kind of add some value in that aspect in terms of just educating them, and then whether they execute today or 5 years from now, it's ultimately up to them.
Yeah.
But at least having the knowledge, all right, these are some options outside of the typical investment within our community, real estate, right, which is a phenomenal asset. But what are some options besides that, right, in terms of legacy planning, retirement, to Rovena's point, perhaps protection, in the event of a premature death or premature illness or injury. So covering like multiple bases, right? For what life throws at you, right? So a lot of people, especially, if you're 25, you think, all right, yeah, nothing's gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
Life is gonna go perfect, and that's far from the truth, right?
Yeah.
Life, it could change, right? So you want to make sure like you're covering with respect to financial planning, you're covering some risk management as well. But yeah, where we add the most value essentially on the financial planning, just holding clients accountable, because most people, including us, like our secret sauce is putting together a financial plan for clients, which is phenomenal. It's very educational. It's 80 pages. We don't go through 80 pages, but if we don't get the client to execute on the recommendations, we did nothing.
Yeah.
So that's where I think our biggest value is holding clients accountable and being kind of in a financial marriage, not being an order taker, right? Being more of a consultant. All right, Lorena, here, this is what we recommend. Here's an outline that we will see based on your current budget and goals.
Yeah.
And let us know what you think, right? So that's where I think we add the most value in terms of helping clients execute on the recommendations.
Okay.
And another point I'm going to make. So another important thing, Lorena, is that there is so much information out there. Like it's crazy. There is TikTok videos, Instagram videos.
I'm
so
just
many
gonna
people.
bring that up.
Yeah, so many people who, and I'm not saying that I'm in a position, like anybody is not in a position to say I know everything about finance or I know the exact best solution for every single situation.
Yeah.
But also there are so many people online who, I don't know, go to ChatGPT, create a paragraph, and then read it in a video. And because we spend so much time on social media, it's so hard to just filter everything. Okay, what's right, what's wrong. Yeah. So that's another thing, is really helping people to get rid of that overwhelming information from so many sources, and then lowering the anxiety of, okay, am I doing the right thing? Is this actually real?
Yeah.
Is this actually a law? When it comes to, for example, when we speak sometimes with business owners, because we work a lot with business owners, and we ask them, hey, so let's say you're paying a lot on taxes. Are you aware that these strategies exist, like 401k, sub IRA, traditional IRA, all the other benefits that they can do? And this would help you, let's say, lower the tax X amount. They're like, is that legit? Because there is a lot of information out there. So our role, it's also, okay, we are certified financial advisors. We have laws and regulations we have to follow. We cannot just give information out of our ideas.
Yeah.
Like their regulation we gotta follow. So that makes people feel more comfortable when they take a decision. So it's crucial to make the difference between what's out there on TikToks and all that and what's actually real information.
Yeah, for sure. There's so much stuff. I was gonna mention the TikTok point that you made as well.
Yeah.
Like I see all these like financial girlies, financial bros, whatever, talking about all this like guys start investing in this. If you do this, you're gonna have $1 million by this age. If you like, and I'm just like, I'm so overwhelmed with all this like
Yeah.
information. I'm like, I don't even know what to do. And so I feel like that's what for me is kind of like I just kind of avoided financial planning for so long because I was like, I don't know where to start. I don't know who to trust really because that
Right.
was my source because I didn't kind of think about going
Yeah.
to a financial advisor.
Right.
Is that what do you think? Why do you think so many people avoid financial planning? Do you think it's just the overwhelming of information or like they're just not educated enough or what is that reason from?
No, great question. I'll touch upon, the what's the kind of phenomenon on
Yeah.
Instagram and TikTok, but
Yeah.
also in terms of like what you're alluding to, right?
Mhm.
So in terms of TikTok, it's obviously it's not regulated, right? So Rovena and I we're highly regulated.
Mhm.
Like I pay for my office here, but I'm compliant, right? So everything I say, like I have
Yeah.
uh errors and omissions up to $10 million. If I say something wrong, actually I could get sued,
Yeah.
right? So that's why I have this insurance that protects me. So we have our own practice backed by Fortune 500 in Northwestern Mutual. But yeah, in terms of like why people avoid financial planning or financial advising, we look at it, it's a high need. Sorry, it's a high need, it's a low demand. Lorena is not going to wake up in the morning, all right, let me speak with a financial advisor today. It's not an attractive conversation,
Yeah.
right? Because it's kind of you being vulnerable in terms of like, all right, how much do you have in credit cards, how much, what are your goals, what are your current savings for retirement? So it increases your anxiety, right? So no one wants to increase their anxiety, right? so so that's why I think it's psychological as well, right? So that's why Rovena and I think we do a pretty good job in terms of like making clients comfortable and creating a timeline, right? There's some science that people solve 1.5 things at one time. So if you throw 5 items at them to solve, they're probably going to do nothing. So
Yeah.
that's why we say, all right, so now you should do X, Y, and Z, and maybe like let's circle back in 6 months or a year to do other items. So, but that's I think a big part. But also timing is crucial, right? So if you're speaking to a 25-year-old, about life insurance, for example, it's not a priority, right? They don't have kids, they don't have a mortgage yet, probably. It's not a priority. So if you're speaking about life insurance with someone in my case, then it's I'm a target market essentially. So a lot of it is timing. But the 25-year-old should start thinking about retirement at some capacity. Uh, and also think about liquidity because there's a lot of time between age 25 to 65 to retirement. You want to make sure you're liquid, right? Because a lot could happen in this timeline. So that's really crucial. So that's what we preach. All right, start saving for retirement, but make sure you also have some other like a brokerage account that you have access if you need the money at age 35.
Okay.
I'll stop there. I don't know if you want to add anything, Ravenna.
Yeah.
No, like the only thing I would add is I think it's just part of the human nature to sometimes avoid important things just because they require effort, like mental effort, emotional effort, because any planning that you start, it can be the most amazing plan, but if you don't like commit to it and you create some healthy habits and you have a certain discipline, like those plans not going to work on itself.
Yeah.
So, and you hear from a lot of people that you meet, hey, I really wanted to do this 3 years ago, but then life happens.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of reasons that affect people, but I also think there, as Ervin mentioned, it's this certain intimidation that finance is so complicated. Like I'm gonna look dumb if I ask certain questions,
Yeah.
or I don't think I have enough money, or I'm waiting for that raise. Next year is going to be better. So it's kind of, there are always things that happen that stop people, or make it harder for them to actually reach out and ask specific questions.
Mm-hmm.
But also sometimes it's hard to find the right person, because as we struggle to maybe find the right dentist, find the right lawyer, find the right doctor in general, it's also hard to find maybe a good advice that you feel comfortable, because you're going to be discussing so many parts of your life. So it's not just, hey, this is how much I have, this is how much I make, but you can also discuss, I'm married, I'm not married, I have kids, I don't have kids, I have this specific trouble, or I went bankrupt. Or, like, the conversation can go to a level that you actually need to build a very healthy relationship with your advisor. So finding the right person is super, super important as well, and that takes time.
Yeah.
So there are many, many reasons, but I think the one thing that I would say to people is, like, it's always the right time to actually start putting your finances in order. It doesn't matter how much you have, what you have. I think building healthy habits is the most important part. Like anything else, even like going to the gym, as Ervin mentioned.
Oh yeah.
You know, it takes time to build
Yeah.
that. Like, okay, I like going to the gym, but you know it's healthy and you know it's necessary for your well-being.
And being
the
consistent with
last point I'll make here is it's all about savings. So we have some clients that are making a couple million and they're horrible savers, right? So our managing partner always says it's a revenue problem, right? If you're not saving enough, it's a revenue problem. I kind of disagree. I think it's also a budget problem, right? Because if you're making $1 million a year and you're running a deficit, then you're definitely doing something wrong. You're living above your means, right? So so that's where Rovena and I add value as well, is to kind of look at a client's budget, and we'll see where's some leakage, right? What is kind of required expenses, and what is discretionary. And of course, we live in a retail world that there's always a sale, there's always an event, there's always a vacation, right? Instagram is you seeing people always on vacation, right? And you're like, oh, I should be in Miami. But then, so you want to find a happy medium where you're not disrupting your life today, you're still enjoying life, but also you're saving. So ideally, we encourage clients to save about 20% of their income. So if you have a 401k through work, let's assume you put 5%, then you should save an additional 15% outside of the 401k.
Okay.
And in different vehicles. And we would highly recommend not to put everything in one vehicle, right?
Yeah.
The old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right?
What I've noticed in our culture is you talked about, the importance of kind of living below your means, saving and investing and all that stuff. And I feel like majority of us live above our means.
Yep.
Like you see people that can't afford much and they drive like a Mercedes Benz. Like what do you think about that?
Yeah.
I just want your thoughts on.
I mean, to each his own, right? We don't judge.
We listen, we don't judge.
Yeah, but yeah, it's backwards, right?
Yeah.
It's backwards. I mean, it just depends where someone is in their life, right? I've been there too. I've driven those cars, but my priorities are different now, right?
Yeah.
So I think everyone has to go through it at some point in their lives, which is fine. But yeah, it's, you don't want the first thing you want to do is make sure like you're not living on credit card.
Yeah.
Right. If you're living off credit cards, that's a big mistake. So that's the first thing we look at clients, and they come to us. Let's say they have student loans and they have credit card loans, credit cards. So first we ask, what is the interest on the student loans? All right, let's say it's 5%. All right, let's assume you start paying those slowly, but you can still invest simultaneously with the aspiration to earn a higher return. But with credit cards, we can't guarantee any rate of return that matches the credit card interest rate, which is 24%. So the first thing we say before we do anything to help you, pay off the credit card.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things we highly recommend. Don't live off credit cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Yeah.
For all of us listening out there.
Yeah.
But one thing I would add, and look, we meet a lot of Albanians through our job, and most of us, like the majority, we work really, really hard. And like, I'm surprised. Until I started this job, I knew Albanians do good, but then the more I meet, I'm like, we're really, really doing good. Especially like there are a lot of business owners who are really killing it out there. But I also think because I studied psychology, so I always would like to analyze why. We come from a very collective culture, and we try to do the same as everybody else. So that sometimes is like, oh, this guy bought a Ferrari, now I gotta beat that, or at least have a Ferrari, that type of mentality. But like the more we get exposed with like more individualistic culture, I think it changes a little bit. But then also the other thing is this idea that when you come to America, the only measure of success is how much money you're making and how much do you possess. And that becomes like, okay, I like a proof that I made it, that I'm successful in America, that I achieved it. But also the third thing is just people are doing good and they just want to enjoy what they have worked hard for. So as long as they're not living in credit cards and they're not kind of denying the financial situation that they're in and they're just simply enjoying it, like good for them. Like go ahead. As long as you have put things in order, like you're not living in this kind of ignoring all like the loans and interest that you're paying, then you have an issue. But if you put things in order and you can afford to enjoy, then that's really cool. And there are a lot of Albanians who can do that very successfully. So, it really depends by the situation.
How many of your clients are Albanian?
Yeah, I'd say 30-35%.
35.
As the last couple of years, we worked mostly a lot more with the business owners. So we try to stay within our lane, right? We're not tax advisors, but there's a lot of pain with business owners is taxes. So we work with their CPA at creating strategies to minimize their tax liability. If someone is going to pay the IRS 100,000 legally, so if you're a business, you have a lot more optionality to lower your taxable income versus if you're like a W-2 employee. So that's where I think we add a lot of value. But also, like if they want to think about employee planning and why is employee planning important, you want to attract talent, you want to retain talent. People today, when they go somewhere to work, they want to make sure the employer has benefits, like i.e. a 401k, health insurance, life insurance, disability insurance. So we provide all these group benefits as well. But our focus is more tax efficiency, working with their CPA because we're not CPAs. Yeah.
All right. What is one piece of financial advice that you wish everyone knew? You're like, this is it. Like, this and you're set.
I would say time. Yeah. Knowing the compounding effect of interest. The earlier you start, the better it is. And then the other thing would be taxes. Right. So, how taxes affect my rate of return. If you're going to put $10,000 a year, is this money going to be taxed in the future or not?
Okay.
Right. So if you look at the 401k, the typical 401k, I joke with clients, is essentially a joint account with the government. Right. When you do retire, you're going to have to pay taxes depending on taxable income, but most people 20-25%. So a quarter of that is going back to the government. You want to be mindful when you're putting money for the future, especially, how are these funds going to be taxed? Because if you're pushing every tax dollar to retirement, you're just guaranteeing yourself that you're going to be in a high tax bracket for the rest of your life. So what is the strategy, right? I don't want to get too technical, but especially having some accounts that are taxed today and not taxed in the future.
Okay. Gotcha.
Right. So doing different vehicles that complement each other. It's really the goal, and then our kind of method in terms of educating clients.
All right.
Yeah, one thing I would add, and you read and you hear a lot online that money, it's the better you treat it, better it's gonna treat you, vibing, all that. But I think
Yeah.
I think answering to yourself, what does money mean for me? Super important. Like, is it like a tool that you use to have just material things? Is it peace of mind? Is it security? Is it your way of achieving freedom? Like, what does it really mean for you? And then once you answer that, and once you know exactly why money is important or not important, then you can actually organize things around your intention. Like you can be more thoughtful of how you spend it, where you spend it, how you save it or invest it for the future. But I think it's important just to know, like, okay, what does money mean for you? Like why it's important or not important.
What's your ideal client?
Great question. Yeah, so this goes back to the, like, hey, I need a couple $1 million to meet Rovena and Ervin, and that's far from the truth.
Okay.
Right. We have some clients that are in tech and they have startups and they have no money, right? They're just like in their first raise, right? Seed money. And they might go bankrupt or they might, be the next Facebook. We don't know. But we're still open to having those meetings with clients that have an open mind and are obviously, open to listening. Right. So at the end of the day, any client that has an open mind and wants to be educated in terms of financial planning, we're open to meet. So, ideally, to put numbers to it, like, we add value if you're making as a household, which might seem a lot, but north of 250 of household income.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people think, oh, that's a lot of money. If you're in New York City, that means the husband makes 125 and the wife makes 125. It's not a big deal, right? And you're probably living close to paycheck in New York City, right? If you have a mortgage and you have a couple of kids, like, there's not a lot of room. And then with business owners, ideally a few years in business, so they have some kind of establishment, but north of 5 million of revenue. And again, a lot of people say, all right, that's a lot of revenue, but with business, it all comes down to what's your profit margin, right? If your profit margin is 15%, like 5 million of revenue, it's not a lot of money, right? So ideal client to go back is really someone that's obviously has a need for what we do. I know you don't know what you don't know, but essentially our target market is more someone that, doing well, but also has goals for the future. And to Rovina's point earlier, has some discipline, wants to put things in order. So that's where we come in and we add value.
Okay.
I really love to work with people who are actually just open to listen, and because I understand that it takes time as people, from the moment you get exposed to an idea or a strategy to the moment you implement it and accept it and you actually work on it. So I know it takes time, but that has to start somewhere. So as long as people are actually willing to accept information, also educate themselves even on their own, I think that's the best first step. And then, revenues, of course, they're ideal numbers because you can be even more creative with strategies and everything. But we have no problem to work with someone who maybe is just starting the career and actually want to put things in order. Like, we work with medical residents, for example. Many of them are not making crazy money right now, but also we know that once they finish the program, they're gonna start their like actual practices or like their actual career, they're gonna be doing really well. So it doesn't mean you gotta be making millions right now. As long as you are willing to put that discipline in and build the right habits and kind of allow us to also be creative with what you can do, that's totally fine.
Majority of my audience, more like high school, college, Albanian students. I guess, what advice would you give to like a broke college kid who's going to school, trying to pay off loans, isn't financially literate? What, I guess, are the first steps?
Yeah, I mean, I've been there. So I graduated in 2010, and in terms of career path, I'll shed some light there as well. But first, finding their passion in terms of what they want to do in life, in terms of finances. I think nothing. Just make sure you're not in debt. But it's too soon. I think they should wait until they have a job, right? To start thinking about investing. Just make sure they're not spending thousands in credit cards and then no plan to pay them, right? Because that puts you in a huge disadvantage, right? So I look at once you come to the US, there are three items that are crucial: your name, right? Your driver license, and your credit.
Yeah.
These are the three items that are crucial, right? So if you're ruining your credit in college because you're going to Cancun on credit cards or whatever, I don't know where
where high schoolers go.
I don't know where they go these days, but we went to Cancun. Then that's a huge mistake, because that puts you in a disadvantage right away, right? Because for you to fix your credit now, it's going to take years.
Yeah.
So that's the first advice. In terms of career path, I ended up at Chase as a banker out of school. I stayed there about 8 months, learned a lot, right? Great organization, JP Morgan Chase. I was on the retail side. But it wasn't for me, right? So that's my advice to folks that are starting out. Try a few different things, but don't waste your time. Make sure, figure out real quick if it's for you or not, and if it's not, leave, right?
Yeah.
In life, you're gonna make a lot of decisions, and you want to make sure you get good at making decisions. And trust me, I've made a lot of bad decisions, but in terms of career path, I think I really followed my passion. So I always inspired to be on the seat of wealth manager, financial advisor. So I wanted to get here, and at Chase, not that I couldn't do it. It was very controlled, right? Where here I have my own practice, especially I have my own business. I'm being backed, right? I have the support of Fortune 500. It's a little different. I'm not a W-2 employee. I don't know if that helps, but kind of give you a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ruben?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I was doing when I was in high school with my money.
Yeah.
Just kinda... But I think when you're in high school, your life rotates around your friends and trying to impress them. So I think it's a very confusing time. So a lot of people probably, it's gonna be very unique. It depends if you live with your parents or not, if you live with like roommates or not. There are a lot of things. One thing I would say is just try to start to enjoy the freedom that money gives while accepting the responsibility of those choices. Which is, again, it's hard to start doing at that time, but if you start to actually be respectful towards money and also start to enjoy having your own money that you worked for, then it's going to be much easier to actually take the right decisions with the money. And it's not about, hey, like, don't do anything, don't enjoy any party, don't go any trip with your friends and all that. It just, the idea of going wild just to impress other people, it's going to have long lasting consequences, not only as a credit or you being broke, but also like the habits that you create. So I think that would be one thing. It's just trying slowly to build certain discipline towards your money and start to enjoy the freedom that money gives you. As for career and, again, it's a difficult time because there's a lot of like biological changes and mental, and your frontal lobe is not really cooperating with you.
I don't even think it's developed until you turn like
exactly
25.
like it's up to 25, so it's gonna take a lot of time. One thing that I did, and I think it really helped me, is I tried to take advantage of any class, any opportunity, any internship. I tried like anything that would come on my way. Even when I came here at university, that I was much older, I did like DJing classes, writing classes, acting class, whatever, because every opportunity that you're gonna actually take into account is gonna help you, one, learn something about yourself, two, pick up some skills that you don't even know where you're going to end up using them, but they're going to be useful. So as long as it's in its fundamental truth, it's a good thing, try it, like go for it. I think this generation, it's also having a really hard time because of the technology has like really affected every single area of our life. But engaging in sports and trying to create healthy relationship out there with teachers, with friends, with people older than you, with mentors is going to be really, really important. But as for the money, look, it's a challenging time. It's going to like take time to be at the point where you are completely responsible. But again, just kind of starting to take little steps towards that financial independence and the right choices.
Yeah, that was great advice from both of you guys.
Yeah, I think I missed out. Definitely start dabbling in some things, but things that are not a commitment, right? So if you're 20, a lot can happen between 20 and 25. So don't lock into anything that you committed to fund, let's say 5K a year, like in a retirement account. But if you want to buy some stocks, let's say $1,000, your kind of slush fund, if you will, or if you want to buy some crypto, but just know there's no get rich scheme, right? So some people did get lucky during the crypto craze and some meme stocks, but that's not the way to kind of build wealth.
Yeah.
Right. You're kind of putting things on red or black, right? If you look at the most successful investors over time, it's not about trying to time a stock or time the market. It's about time in the market, right? You want to pick some solid names and you want to stick with them for the foreseeable future. So again, if they have a passion about investing and kind of growing their net worth, I would say, yeah, on their own research, just they could go and pick some stocks. There's nothing wrong with it to kind of start. But yeah.
Like Dodge.
Yeah, in general, I think we should say that in general, it's one thing that people should keep in mind is that if somebody is promising you're going to put $1,000, you're going to make $100,000 next year, most of the time it doesn't happen. So really do really good research on that, especially with a lot of independent advisors who haven't gone through education, nobody's checking on them, all that. Just be careful in general. There are a lot of people all over America lose a lot of millions because they kind of take steps towards things like this, and it just you would say it doesn't happen, but actually when you read the statistics, it's pretty wild.
Oh, wow.
Yes, but we look at things also from a segment of dollars perspective. So you have your home run dollars. So I watch a lot of sports. So in terms of LeBron James, he says making sure you keep number one, right? So if LeBron is not if he's not successful on the basketball court, He's not getting the endorsements he wants. He's not getting the business deals. So definitely keeping number one. So if let's say if we meet an Albanian business owner, like his biggest asset is the business, right? Him going to work every day. So we're not looking to replace or add value there because we can't. Where we do add value is on the aggressive dollars and the safe dollars. So these are the three segments: home run dollars, aggressive dollars, safe dollars, safe. So on the aggressive side, as we mentioned earlier, working with their CPA to kind of create strategies for their retirement and so on, tax efficiency. And then on the safe dollars, having a safety net for, let's say, if the market corrects or something happens within their business, creating kind of an exit strategy or plan B. So we always kind of add some pain points to business owners. Like, all right, let's assume business owner, you're 65 years old and your business maybe is not marketable. You can't sell it because of competition, or maybe your kids don't want to be part of the business, right? So, what are you going to do, right? So what we try to kind of preach and kind of, do is leverage the business dollars, the revenue, and moving some of those dollars into their personal name simultaneously to kind of creating kind of a plan B. If everything goes well, like even better, right? They have another asset or another nest egg here to enhance legacy goals. But let's say if things don't go well, at least they're not ending up, working at Walmart at age 70, right? They have kind of a safety net or a retirement account that we have created over the years, leveraging the business, right? So, making sure like the river is not going to bring wood down the stream every time, right? So you want to make sure when the wood is coming that we're kind of taking some of that and moving it into another bucket.
I've learned a lot from just talking to you. You all have like a virtual financial advisor Zoom option for people that aren't in your area who want to like connect with you guys.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, we work with clients, like we have clients in California, we have clients in Michigan, like of course the tri-state area, Florida. So we can operate our business in literally every state here in US. So yeah. And Zoom has made our life so much easier. Like with a lot of Albanians, we like to meet in person over lunch, coffee, because we still have that need to. And it's really good. I really love to meet people in person. You shake hands, you discuss things much easier. Sometimes I come to the office, but definitely Zoom has made our business much easier because you can meet people at any time, anywhere. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, to Rovena's point, there's no replacement to meeting in person, but we have about 1,000 clients, and I've been in the seat now for 12 years, and I would say 90% of our meetings are Zoom.
Oh,
even in the tri-state area, right? But we have clients around the country where we meet clients most of the time and just to catch up over lunch, and those are the best meetings.
Nice.
Right? But also we're saving a lot of paper, right?
Yeah.
We're not printing plans anymore. So it's actually very efficient. I mean, unfortunate that it happened because of COVID, but I think it's made business much more efficient for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, on to our rapid fire round. So I guess I'm going to start with a finance question. Best advice for someone just starting to invest?
Read as much as you can, educate yourself, understand where you're putting the money. And also don't panic just because one day the market is down. It's going to go up again. But educate yourself, I would say.
Yeah. I would add just kind of, again, not putting all your dollars in one place. So kind of being diversified, even if it means from 2 different platforms or 3 different platforms, but also understanding where you are and where you want to be, right? Are these dollars for retirement? Are these dollars to buy a home in 5 years? Or are these dollars just like, who cares, right? I could take all the risk I need because if I lose it, it's not gonna change my lifestyle. So understand and kind of putting it in the appropriate vehicles, right? So if you're 30 or 25 and invested for retirement, you should be very, very aggressive because there's a lot of time for the market to kind of go up and down. If you're looking to buy a home in 5 years, then you can be a little more, kind of conservative approach. So that's the advice I would say. The saddest thing Rovena and I see is that, through Facebook or other platforms is when there's a GoFundMe, let's say someone passes away within our community, and thankfully our community is very, very tight where people do donate, but it's very sad, right? And that's an easy fix. Just buy a life insurance policy. So I have about 10 million on my life, right? If I don't make it home today, my kids are going to get 10 million. And a lot of people in our community are like, why you have so much? And
Yeah.
Going back to my point, I care about legacy planning, right? So I'm looking at the life insurance from a human life value.
Yeah.
So I'm 38. If I don't make it home today, that means that if I work to age 65, theoretically, I would have maybe earned 10 million or plus.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm buying life insurance on. I'm making sure that if I don't make it home today, my kids are going to be taken care of. They're going to go to proper schooling. They're gonna be well off. So a lot of Albanians also think, oh, why should I do that for my kids? Because I suffered or I had a hard time. But I look at it from, if my kids do something stupid with the money, if I'm not here, then I've done a horrible job as a dad to raise them,
Yeah.
right? So that's really crucial in kind of protecting, because this is kind of taboo and
Yeah.
within our community in terms of like buying life insurance. But it's very sad when we see like, all right, this family had this passing, and they have a GoFundMe. It's like
Mhm.
very unfortunate
Yeah.
because that's the easy fix.
Yeah. I see those all the time. I always
Yeah.
try to donate when I can, but
Yeah, it's sad. Yeah. I mean, and since we're like here, last point, since
Yeah.
I'm a woman in this
Yeah.
field, I would say, especially to our Albanian women, try to be engaged on the financial planning as much as you can.
Okay.
Because you don't know what life brings,
Yeah.
and it's super important for you to know where the money is, where the money is being invested. Like just educate yourself and know how things work. Even if like you don't have to be an expert, but at least know how things work. Because I've spoken with a lot of Albanian, I'm not saying a lot, but I've spoken with
Yeah.
Albanian women
A good
who
amount. Yeah.
end up
Yeah.
being in a situation where they don't know where the money is, or
Yeah.
because of whatever divorce or conflict or whatever situation they're in. And it's very unfortunate because they work hard, and you work hard even if you're staying at home taking care of the kids.
Yeah.
So just kind of know what's going on with your money in a way. So yeah.
For sure. No, being a stay-at-home mom is a full-time job.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
not easy.
yeah. That's like earning $200,000.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Crypto, opportunity or risk?
Both. Go ahead.
I think both.
Both.
Like again, going about the laws and regulation,
Uh-huh.
I'm not an expert in that field, so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Take your own risk, take your own chance. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if I would say a book, maybe a book to read is Intelligent Investor.
Uh-huh.
I would encourage people to read that book. It's actually one of the books that kind of changed the kind of the psyche for one of the most successful investors, Warren Buffett. So pretty much what the book says in summary is that, not looking to, again, get rich, but buying great companies at a fair valuation versus buying, good companies that are cheap. Long term, that's yielded higher, but also sleeping better at night, right?
Yeah. Favorite Albanian song?
I don't know if you've seen those memes on internet when you're listening to a song with Shiftali, but you're walking like you're
Oh,
very
yeah, I see.
serious about
I
life.
know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, that's me. I mean, it really depends. I sometimes I listen to really old Albanian songs because back home I also used to like participate in all the like artistic programs and singing and all that.
Okay.
But I don't really have like one favorite. In general, I don't think the singers now are producing very good songs.
Really?
There's some good ones. Yeah, I go on YouTube and I just put like Albanian hits 2025, and
Yeah.
like I just
Look, there is a good
What is-
song. It's the title is Plise, which is Silesia.
Uh-huh.
It has really good
Who
music.
sings it?
It's a Shachir Tsirvadiko Nasim Gashi. It's a very good
Okay.
song. Yeah, it
Okay.
puts you in a good mood.
Should people prioritize paying off debt or saving for retirement first?
depending on the interest rate,
Depends.
but
Yeah.
so you want to try to do both simultaneously if the interest rate is low. Going
Okay.
back to, if you're paying credit card interest, then pay the credit cards.
Okay.
But also in terms of credit cards, a lot of people maybe are not familiar. You could also do a balance transfer. So you could Google this top credit cards for balance. If you have decent credit, let's say you have 20,000 in Amex, you could transfer the entire 20,000 into a new card,
Mhm.
and you have to pay a transfer fee. It's typically 3%, but then you pay zero interest depending on the card for, let's say, 15 months or 21 months. So now it gives you a runway. At least even if you're making minimum payments, you're not paying the interest for that timeline. Ideally, you want to pay it within that timeline so you don't have to do it again. but just food for thought. That's kind of a trick, that maybe a lot of people don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like just, it really depends by the interest rate. If you're paying crazy interest, take care of that because you're not going to get the same return on the investments to actually cover the difference.
Okay.
So it's very unique for each person.
Okay. Favorite hobby of yours?
Traveling. I
Yeah.
love traveling. I love seeing like architecture of different cities. I usually like old cities. Like, for example, I was in Savannah last summer and I love like the paved, like stone paved streets. It reminded me of Rome.
Mhm.
So I just love to, see different things from different cities and art, their cuisine. So it's kind of discovering, like having always this excitement of seeing something
Okay.
new.
New opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll steal that. Definitely traveling.
Okay.
Traveling is a must. That's honestly one of my whys to kind of be successful, just
Yeah.
just so I could travel.
I really forgot about the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Just seeing different cultures but traveling outside the US.
Yeah.
I go to Miami a lot, but outside the US, that's where you really get the culture. And I'm going to authentic places, right? So Argentina is on the hit list for this year. Let's see. I was in Spain last year and Madrid. We're going to places that maybe are not famous yet from
Okay,
a tourist
yeah.
perspective.
Like those
That's what
hidden
I want to.
gems.
Yeah, kind of
Like
hidden gems,
Albania.
like Albania, like Albanians. Yeah.
Favorite place to visit since
I
we're
love
on the
Italy.
topic of travel.
Like based on the place I've visited so far, I would go to Rome every single summer if I had time and
I
money. I love Rome.
I'm in my element in Aruba. I love Aruba.
Aruba.
Aruba is
One
good, yeah.
one happy island. Every time I go, I rent a car, and then there's this beach called Baby Beach. It's in the corner of the island. It's like paradise.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's my happy place.
All right. Favorite Albanian cuisine.
Burek, that's it.
You said the most basic answer.
Honestly, I love Albanian food, but Albanian food in Albania. I think we have good restaurants here
Really?
who try to do their best to
Yeah.
cook Albanian food, but because the ingredients are not
Yeah.
Albanian, it tastes differently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Albanian food. I like literally everything. I love the basic ones. You
Yeah.
said burek,
Yeah.
flea, all that.
I
I
mean,
think it's just the taste that makes it good. It can be even like a simple chicken soup, but it's not
Yeah.
like a chicken soup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually spoiled. I was in Tirana in December to see my grandpa. He's 93, so just went to spend some time with him. But yeah, we were in Tirana in Diet in this place Tirani. It's like you just order the meat and they bring everything else. I was really impressed. I was like, so they put a spin, but in terms of like favorite food, I'd say like a top, that's kind of, if you get it at the right spot, it's delicious.
Yeah.
Lorena, cut that. I really love Furlik.
Furlik. Okay.
I love Furlik. It's like I
Yeah.
think it's more like the fact that you see the process of the meat being cooked and it's fresh and it tastes good. It just,
Yeah.
and also it has emotional connection because back home we usually when we did Furlik, it was something special.
Yeah.
So all our family would come together. So it's like it's also like the emotional association with it. So yeah.
What is the best part of your day?
Yeah, just meeting different people, right? So given all these clients, and that's really what kind of helps us wake up in the morning as well, is that some of our clients are friends, right, over time. And that's really what was shocking to me, right? Being in this business now, it's like I've made some good friends that probably I would have never met.
Yeah.
So we started as a conversation for business, but then over the years, you actually connect and you do a lot of lunches and you actually they invite you to their events and vice versa, and that's the beauty is that you meet people from different walks of life, but also you learn a lot, right, about different businesses. You learn so much, right, because we're pretty much doing what you're doing on the podcast in terms of like hearing someone's story, hearing someone's kind of hurdles from a day to day, but you're learning so much about every other business out there and every other so that's really what keeps this job interesting and kind of keep the passion going.
Yeah, and beside that, of course I agree with everything Ervin said. I'm just thinking, like, for example, yesterday we met a very successful business owner from Kosovo, and he was talking about his journey. Like he finished pharmacy because he wanted to make his parents happy, pharmacy, white coat, all
Yeah.
that. And then he came in New York, he started selling paint and leather and this, and then he met another, like, not met, but kind of discussed with his cousin, hey, why don't we do a business? So then they started with small steps, and then they started expanding, and they added design and renovation, all that. That really, it's also like motivational, the
Oh, yeah.
motivational videos that you
Yeah.
watch is like you're having this conversation with a real person
Yeah.
who went through that journey. It gives you a sense of like, hey, even if things maybe are not that good right now for whatever reason, things gonna connect somehow and you're gonna end up like in a good place. So it's really, really interesting. But also I really enjoy, for example, when people reach out and they're like, hey, do you know a good lawyer, or do you know a good CPA, or do you know a good doctor?
Yeah.
And because the position we're in, we get to meet people from different professions, different walks of life. So a friend of mine, she jokes, she's like, you're the database for the Albanian community. But it
it's true.
happens so many times that people are like, hey, like, can you send me a name for this specific situation? I'm like, yeah, sure. Or if I don't have it, hey, Ervin, have you come across this type
Yeah.
of person? So like it's kind
Yeah.
of, we always have somebody for each
That's
role.
so nice.
Mortgage
Yeah.
brokers, real
That's so
estate,
nice.
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
personal loans, business loan,
Yeah.
anything. It's
Ask
We
like,
got we,
Rovena and Ervin.
we got a
like a
guy.
collection.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a guy. Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. What is your favorite color? Basic question.
Yeah. I'd say
Blue when I go on vacation because I love the beach, and black when I dress for serious things.
I'd say red.
Red. All right. Well, that is all I had for today. Thank
Awesome.
you so much. You guys are both
Yeah.
amazing, and I can sense your passion for
Yeah.
what you're currently doing and how you love working with your clients and making their lives easier. And finances are something that people like want to avoid having conversations around. And
Yep.
I think this is great that we kind of like brought this to light. And so for
Yep.
everyone who's like interested in speaking to a financial advisor, you're two great ones that I
Yep.
recommend reaching out to. And I hope today's episode gave everyone some valuable insights and tips to take next steps in managing your financial journey. We talked a lot about, how to do that. You guys gave some awesome tips. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Thank you, Lorraine. It was great.
Thank you.
And good luck with, keep doing this. It's really, really, really good.
Yeah.
It brings up the best part of our community in America.
Yeah.
So I really love it.
But
Well,
again, it was a pleasure, and
yeah.
we appreciate the opportunity, and we look forward to staying in touch.